The amazing thing about health coaching is you can bring freedom, flexibility, and fun to your practice. And boy, do we have an amazing episode for you. We have the amazing Amanda Williams, who is going to talk about her practice, how she left corporate to become a health coach. But not only that, in a fun, amazing way, you're going to see how much fun it is to create a practice so that you can live a life that you love. So, welcome, Amanda.
Thank you so much for inviting me to come. I'm super excited to be here with you. I love your energy.
And likewise, right back at you. I mean, this has been fun as I've watched you grow and help people. It is incredible. So we're going to dive in. You're going to be teaching people. I know you specialize in helping, especially perimenopausal women with their weight, with their sleep, with their gut health, with their energy. So we're going to dive into that. But take us back. How did you go? How did you get here? What were you doing before? What led you to this point on the work that you're doing now?
You teed this up. I was 20 years in corporate leadership and, set out from business school to just be in management. I wanted to help impact people's lives. And one of the most formative books in my young professional life was called Servant Leadership. And it was really about a person who had realized that leading folks didn't necessarily mean this top down do approach, but really like pulling from them, serving them and pulling out of them
Yeah.
all the goodness that exists and really just amplifying who people are. And so when after I read that book and then went into the way a management program in the beginning, I managed for 16 of the 20 years that I was in corporate America. And then the other 4 years mentored people because this is where my heart and passion is working with people. And so I worked in manufacturing and then I worked in technology. I was leading sales and marketing and product development teams and had built a successful career, but I wasn't ultimately fulfilled.
Yeah.
And my true passion is health. And we're going to dive into how I got there and my story, but people came to me naturally for advice about their nutrition and their stress levels and burnout and how to manage their stress in an environment with somebody who was ultimately stressful. And so we tuned in to how they could best impact their lives and their bodies such that they could navigate the environment around them. And that's when my passion just really started growing.
I love that. And as I meet with health coaches from around the globe, that's a common thread. Like oftentimes they were already, even if they weren't a doctor or a nurse or in healthcare, they were also that there were always that person that people came to for advice and to ask questions. So tell us a little bit about your health journey and what led you uh, in this direction, some of the struggles that led you into your especially awesome expertise that you have now. Like many, you learned it the hard way. So tell us what happened.
I think on a lighter note, when I was young, I remember at 11, my mom gave me a book on tape that was about glacial water. And I remember I was upstairs in the attic with this gymnastics mat, and I was like practicing some of my gymnastics moves and listening to this book on tape on my headphones attached to me, right?
Yeah.
And it talked about the nutrient density in water and how these populations in the Himalayas were healthy, like they lived to be beyond 100 years. And this author believed, and the studies believed it was the impact of this glacial water. And I was like, that is so interesting. And then to the misfortune of my parents, I became very obsessed about the water and the water quality that we were drinking, and no longer was the tap water okay. Okay. And but truly then, in my 20s, I experienced, and my family has many accounts of this, explosive spontaneous diarrhea or spontaneous explosive diarrhea on the regular. And I have this like awful professional story where I was moving across Southeast Michigan where I was working at the time to meet what I worked with contractors, I was meeting owner, business owners, so they're CEO of their businesses, and I would meet with them as the manager, in this territory. And I had experienced an issue after lunch with one client, and I was moving to have afternoon like coffee, with the next client, and I had to pull over at the McDonald's because at that point you could sneak in the back. There was always a side door. I
Yeah.
had learned this the hard way. And because my body was like, nope, you are not going a mile further in this vehicle. This is going to rip through you. And I had to call that poor person and say, I am unable to make it this afternoon. And I called them from the floor of the McDonald's.
Oh,
It
oh,
like at a low. And I'm like, I am done dealing with this. What is wrong
yeah,
with my body? I'm
yeah.
going to figure this out. And I got into the doctor, and the doctor said, okay, well, why don't you food journal? Like, I don't know what's happening with you, but like, you need to food journal. And so at that point, my life, I was embarrassed. My stool had become unpredictable. It was completely disruptive to my work life, my social life, time with my family. They have all the stories, of course. And so I started journaling. Um, and in that process, I still had no idea what was happening, but I was able to kind of link it to, well, going out. It was an issue. It was never happening at home for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And I remember another horrifying story. I was leaving. I had kind of thought it might be fried food, but I could not let go of my fried pickles. Okay. It was just, they just had a hold on me. And I'm out to eat with some friends, and we are literally moving from West Des Moines to downtown where I live, dinner there, dessert and drinks at my apartment downtown. And it hit me again on the 20-minute drive, and we're caravanning. There are 5 cars lined up behind me on 235. Okay. And I'm like, I gotta go home. And I was like 2 miles from my house. I'm like, this is ripping through my body. So that's how long it took, like probably 45 minutes from the moment I consumed that fried food. And I pulled over and I went to the bathroom on the side of the interstate. I ran down into the ditch where nobody could see me, went to the bathroom, got back in my car, pretended like nothing happened, and kept driving. I mean, the folks saw me on the side of the road and they're like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, I'm fine. I'll be right there. Just had to check something in my car." And you know what I mean? And then I get to my house and quickly clean up again and pulled out the prepared desserts and paired wine and served dinner. But like, it had a hold on me. And so I buckled down. I was like, all right, I mean, no more fried food. No more fried food. And that eliminated it. Okay. But then what happens when you're journaling and when you do an elimination is like you do need to do a reintroduction, because that's when you learn the truth of the ultimate impact it has on your body. And so then I went about reintroducing some fried foods, and I got to the point where I had my hypothesis was it was soy oil. So it wasn't all fried foods. It was food fried in soy oil. And so I remember I 2 restaurants in a row, soy oil, and had the same issue. And then the third restaurant, I'm like, I got this. I tried it 3 times. And third time, I called the restaurant back and I'm like, what do you fry in? And they're like, regular oil. And it wasn't soy. And I'm like, my hypothesis is blown, after 18 months, all this experimentation. Anyway, they ended up calling me back. Like, ma'am, we just started blending our oil with soy. And I was like, okay, 3, soy oil. And so anyway, I went about, now I have to ask the embarrassing question before I order something with a group of people. They're
Yeah.
like, let's get fried buffalo wings. I'm like, can you please ask the cook if they fry that with soy oil?
Yeah.
And I got my gut to the point where it's healthy now, so that I don't have the same issue. Now I
Right.
just get a little bit of gut rumble,
Yes.
but I'm not, like, it's not flying out of me.
Yeah.
But going through that process, going through the elimination, going through the active reintroduction, I did all that before there was any known elimination plan
Yeah.
accessible to me. I went through that myself. And then I've honored my body for 20 years in that process.
We can laugh now.
Yeah, yeah, it
It's
wasn't
not funny
funny.
before, but and there's so much goodness that you shared. I think your clients love that you're real, that you're human. For me, like university floor, I remember, like as you say that, I'm like bathroom at the university floor. I'm like, I remember that. And then the value of being your own investigative reporter, because we all have these unique bodies. Everybody else in the caravan, everybody else at the restaurant was
Ate the
fine.
same
In the
things and wore
family
fine.
was fine, but
Yeah.
not you. And so that's where it's like, it's not like, some kind of food poisoning where everybody ate the potato salad and now everybody's sick. It's different than that. It's like more bio individual. So it really is helpful to go, okay, what was the thing? And so to nail it down, fried food, soy oil, like that's helpful information. So because you desperately want to not have this happen again. When I did that, again, way before people were talking about elimination diets or anything else, but just as a scientist, as a medical doctor, as a background, I'm like, what is going on? And
Mhm.
broccoli
Oh,
of all things. And I used to talk about how healthy broccoli is, and it is, but not for me. In that there was about a 20-year period where it was not good for me. So
yeah.
it's not necessarily obvious because some people might say, oh, well, of course, Amanda, it was fried foods, like what you, but no, not obvious because
Nope.
other people are fine. And this is like
And it's not
dramatic.
all fried foods. I'm
And
fine
it's,
if it's
yeah,
like a regular vegetable oil.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so it was dramatic. Now the gift is that was the opening. That's the doorway to the gift that gets
Mhm.
unwrapped here, the gift that keeps on giving in a wonderful way. And so once you got on the other side of that and you are like, okay, I do this elimination diet and you heal up your gut. I know when you do that, there's some other gifts that
Oh yeah,
just start to happen
a lot
after
of
that. What
benefits.
else did you notice?
And I want to clarify also, I can eat soy. I eat tofu regularly. I can use regular soy oil, just not fried. I eat
Yeah,
edamame regularly. It was
yeah,
the elimination process and reintroduction taught me like the whole
yeah.
version of it. I could do that.
Yes. Yeah.
But like because my body was so unpredictable, I had high anxiety in social settings. Like I was like, I don't know how it's going to react. I can't go and do the next thing with everybody because I don't know how my body's going to react. So I would not
Yeah.
promise those next things with folks after dinner.
Right. Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Not doing that.
I don't know what's happening. Ultimately, I didn't realize until I went through the elimination process and got my gut imbalance that I wasn't sleeping to the same depth that I started sleeping. And also, I didn't realize the impact sleep had on my health in total. Like, I knew it was good, but I didn't know how good it was in
Yeah.
allowing our body to reset and my gut to improve. And then I just like, I've always had high energy, but I had clean energy.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
different. Like when your body, your mind, everything just feels like really connected and you're thinking clearly and things are firing well. And you're like, I can do that next thing. You just like got a lot of pep in your step.
What I noticed, and it was especially, as I had adaptogens, things that would help my body adapt to stress, because I couldn't necessarily change the external stressors of my medical
Yep.
career and raising four kids, like all that kind of stuff. But I could change how my body reacted to it or responded to it.
Yep.
I had an influence there. And for me, I remember at one point I had to get glasses. So I didn't always need to wear glasses, but in university, then all of a sudden I had glasses. And so I put on glasses for the first time. And I'm like,
Hmm.
I can see. I can see. So I didn't know that things were
Yeah.
blurry because they kind of drifted over time and all of it, everything was like crisped up into focus. That's what it felt like with that clean energy. Like
Yeah,
everything
that's
is
such a good
clear.
analogy.
It's clear. It's
Yeah.
like, wow, no brain fog. I can, this is working. This is working. And that's
Yep.
huge. Your work is better, your relationships are better, all sorts of things. And then I think that and correct me if I'm wrong, that, noticing that allowed you to go, okay, what else can I clean up in my diet? What
Oh,
else can
yeah.
I tackle?
Yeah. I mean, I liked sugar. I was a road warrior for a long time when I was managing a large territory, and I had those Mike and Ikes, tucked right into my door. And I just thought not a big deal. I eat pretty healthy now. And so when I went through the elimination, I eliminated sugar. And then when I started reintroducing it, I was like, oh, this doesn't make me feel so good. But that wasn't I had to go through sugar elimination 3 times if you count that one. My mood stabilized. And
Yeah.
so I wasn't like, I wouldn't say people probably called me a moody person per se, but I would say there were moments I could be flippant. And it was like I just got greater control over the things I wanted to say, how I wanted to articulate them. My ability to sit and listen and be patient, altered. I mean, healing my body healed my mind, healed my heart. Like it impacted every area of my life.
Yeah. Again, I keep coming back to my story, but I'm echoing this. Like, yeah. And I remember previously when I'm maybe my diet is not as clean. I mean, I thought I was eating clean before, but there's
Yeah,
like another level. There's always
there
another
is.
gear. There's always another level. And and I remember, when I was stressed and like reactive mode, I'd be like, quit yelling at your brother as I would yell at my kids, right? And then afterwards, when I'm like thinking clearly, I'm like, hey, I know that wasn't right, but like, but I understand that this is where they're coming from. And I know that, and I'm like, who is this mother? Who
Yeah.
am I? I
Yeah.
have
You
like
mom differently.
superpowers, like, right? I
Yep.
have superpowers that I didn't know I have. And like food changes everything.
It
But
does.
so does your gut health. Like your gut health matters. And so, yeah, being able to do that. And once you see some results, it's like, because if your food doesn't change anything, if it doesn't really matter, if it's just a calories in, calories out kind of world, then who cares? Eat whatever you want. But that's not it. And the
Oh.
details can really have a dramatic effect. And I remember one time you sharing with me, like, an aha was like your body wasn't broken. It's not like you had a flawed model.
Yeah.
I got a lemon here. Wait, what? This one doesn't work. No, it's just like when we put this input in and this combination of things, then we have this output over here. And so it's just looking at, okay, how can I take this perfectly great vehicle that is designed to carry me through this lifetime? It's the best one we have, and so we want to take care of it. But it's like, how can I work with this vehicle that we
Yeah.
have to really make it? And it's not that there's anything wrong with it. It's like, what else can I do to kind of support it? What does it need? Because this one doesn't need fried soy.
It
Somebody
doesn't.
else's might, or mine didn't need broccoli at that time. Somebody
Yeah.
else's might. That be the thing. So like it's like, where's the operator's manual for this particular vehicle so it can drive well? And I thought that was just awesome that you had shared, that kind of perspective.
Yeah. And I think that like I always thought about food as fuel, but I didn't think about food also being information.
Yeah.
And so, because there's different types of fuel, different types of day. There's different type of fuel for the next thing that I'm going to do. I don't have to fuel my body to midnight at night if I'm going to sleep at 10. There's
Yeah.
just rhythms around food and
Yeah.
information. And then I just thought the bigger the variety, the better always. And so I was always eating variety and not paying attention to how all of it impacted my daily rhythm and how I was able to think and the accumulation of it in my body. And
Yeah.
so I just realized it can either hurt me or it can heal me.
So who
Yeah.
is it that you're so passionate about helping now, Amanda?
Going into this, like I was late to having babies, and so there's not a big gap between my postpartum world and my perimenopause world,
You
right?
kind of met.
Yeah, they just met. And so I was like, I am really passionate about this stage of our life because we are changed in this time. Like it is a marked time in a woman's history that everybody remembers.
Yeah.
And we can lament the experience and we can talk about like the way that impacted us. It impacts us on the daily, like anxiety, mood swings, hot flashes, just feeling hot, not wanting to eat the same things, just being just in general not feeling like yourself anymore. And I became really passionate about helping. One, I wanted to set myself up for success. I was like,
Mhm.
I'm going to go into this because I know that during the birthing years, I was able to impact my pregnancy based on the decisions that I made every day about my health.
True. Yeah.
I thought same has to be true for perimenopause. And
Yes.
since it's like a decade of our life, like why not try to positively impact that? And so I like to work with women to help them get rid of that stubborn belly weight that they probably been carrying since the childhood years,
Mhm.
to stabilize that mood so they don't feel crazy or outside of themselves, during this season. Get the energy back. This isn't the time when we just start slowly dying, go into a
Right.
slow
Yeah.
descent. Like we can be incredibly vivacious and live in great vitality at this time, and then clear the brain fog. Like I remember I was pregnant for the first time and I had my first presentation and I'm standing in front of all these people and I'm like, what is that word? like here, like it's floating around, just grab it, brain, grab it. And finally your brain gets it. And then I remember when you get through that postpartum, you're like, oh, my brain's back online. And then you get into perimenopause, you're like, what happened? This is happening again? And
Yes.
so, and it's embarrassing. And, Dr. Shauna, 25% of women opt out of the workforce during this time
Wow. Yeah.
because of shame, guilt. Like, I can't operate in the same level that I used to. There's a lot that happens. And I'm like, I want to help every woman I can make that not be their story and their journey. I want to flip this on its side and be like, actually, this is when my life became I became the best version of myself.
Yeah. I so love all of that. And stress aggravates the menopause. Like I definitely
Yes.
I've seen it, I've experienced it myself. So like that absolutely has an impact. And so when they're in there and then they're kind of torn and things are going down and this whole brain fog and finding the word, like I remember when I was postpartum and and so as a doctor, like, or at least back then, like there is no time off as far as that goes.
Yeah.
It's not very healthy. Medical, being a doctor is not great for your health. But anyways, and I remember like as a radiologist, it was like it's like it's not like I don't know, like it's not like you're stupid. It's just like finding that word. And I'm like, looking at as a radio, looking at like heart, big thing, big vessel coming out of it. What the heck is it?
I
I
know what
mean,
this is.
it's like it's crazy. And it's like, when you forget the name of somebody, it's not like it, it's just not there. And that's kind of what we're,
Yeah.
what you're talking about. And that is absolutely going to, and it comes back and so on. But it's about, how do we do that? And like, and when you're going through perimenopause, like this should be the time that you get to like, you've learned, you've got some wisdom and you know a little bit
Yeah.
more about how this vehicle works. This should be your time to shine and
Yeah.
really do this. So now you've transitioned from like being on a mission to help these women and take back control of their health. And oh,
Mhm.
I can't wait till we get to some of the stories because they are. I mean, as you guys are listening, you probably already know she's got some good ones, right? And there's more to come. I promise you that. But what's your favorite part? Like you were in corporate. And then now you have this amazing career as a health coach, which I feel like is the absolute best. From your perspective, what's your favorite part of being a health coach?
I was telling you the story about the moment I decided to make the official pivot. I was out on my back porch and I live in Iowa, but I live on this beautiful lake and there's tree frogs and water frogs and there's beautiful birds and the water's going and it's in the dark and my babies are sleeping and I'm having a glass of Pinot Noir. And I'm like, I was in a really high stress state in my personal life. So I was good at capturing these moments to try to decompress. I learned that in my meditation practices and my contemplative prayer. And I was like, what do I want? And I just like closed my eyes and I was listening and breathing. I was like, what do I want my life to look like? Because I'm 20 years in corporate America and I had a good run. Like I had amazing bosses. Like my parents, like, why are you leaving? You actually like working. I'm like, I
Yeah.
like the people I work with.
Yeah.
Like I had a really blessed
Yeah.
corporate, but I just wasn't fully fulfilled. I was like, I'm not tapping into the thing that I'm built to do.
Yeah.
And I was envisioning my life and I'm like, okay, I want greater flexibility. I want more ownership over my time. I want a combination of freedom and fulfillment. And I think it's possible. I think it's possible. And so I'm really the first entrepreneur in my family. And so I think that's also why I've gotten a little bit of like, what are you doing?
Yes.
And so, but I wanted to flip the paradigm and to create a life around my family because my kids are my priority, my health is my priority, my me helping people is my priority. And so I just went about doing that. And I literally went from like more of a customized approach with people. And I'm like, and doing that on the side to how can I scale this?
Mhm. Yeah.
And so I have built now a model, a life rhythm. I biohacked my own life.
Yeah.
biohacked my own life and created a rhythm that I can pour into these amazing women, be in school, which is what I'm doing on the side, and be with my babies. I spend every Wednesday with my 4-year-old.
I love it.
And so I get to be that, and I'm there for everything. Everything I coach, I volunteer at church. Like I'm doing everything I want to do right now.
And
And it's
that's, I mean, that's ideal, right? And health coaching allows you to have a business that is in alignment with,
your
what
life.
you want, with what you want, what's important, your priorities. And I really love that. I'm curious, how did you find me? How did you find us?
Oh, okay. So I did quite a bit of research and I interviewed, I think, 5 companies or 6 companies that like do health coaching.
Yeah.
And I remember when I saw your face, I thought there's something special about her. So you're on that boat on the water in one of
Okay.
your, okay.
Yes.
And I was like, she's genuine. She seems authentic, right? And you're Canadian, which is like everybody loves a good Canadian.
Well, not
And so
everybody, but
and and so then I went through the interview process and I did this with like 5 or 6 companies. I can't remember all of them. And your sales rep then represented you really well, right? And I was like, I really liked him. I was like, okay, if this is an extension of her, she hires well and she's
yeah,
like paying attention to like brand and what she wants to. And it
yeah,
was just like I felt the love from your love funnel. Like I felt the love through the entire process. And then I'll tell you of all the coaches, because I was in sales and marketing, my job was to track numbers,
right.
and your numbers lined up.
Yeah,
And so, and they were practical, and you had practical ways to reach them. And
yeah,
I ran them every which way.
yes,
Like I did macro formulas, I did micro for. I ran them every which way. And I was like, she's right every time. And
yeah,
so you just really like have a knack for tuning into the things that are priorities and having lived it now with, my coach and like with you, it's like every step was a step worth taking in this process because and there were no wasted motions.
yeah.
Like
No
not a
fluff.
single wasted motion. You have
Yeah,
refined this down
yeah,
to a perfect science, and that you're a scientist. So like that
yes,
makes sense that you
makes
made
sense.
this a scientific project
Yeah,
and
I,
like track the data and the numbers through the whole process to see what worked. And you took these variables from these clients. And like I
yeah,
remember one time I was like, I was like, I got all these clients, in one swoop. And you were kind of like, what is the factor there? And I was like, well, I live in a small town. And you're like, oh, okay, another variable that like
yes,
and you instantly said, oh, so and so lives in a small town. And that's a really like great thing to leverage. And you know
yeah,
what I mean? Like just you think scientifically, and that's the
yes.
that you built around this.
Yeah, yeah, like, and it's like, what are the ingredients and
Yeah.
what works? And the great thing I know is everybody's got something. Like when I'm like looking at what people have, like, and we're gonna leverage it. Like somebody's married to a surgeon, and we're gonna leverage that. And
Yeah.
somebody else lives in a tiny town, and we're gonna leverage that. And somebody else lives in a big city, and I'm gonna leverage that. And somebody else has a special gift for speaking, and we're going to leverage it, or writing, or they're like close and quiet, and we're going to leverage that. Like everybody's got something. I'm like,
Yeah.
and then it's really about, you know being the world's leading expert. And what can you be the world's leading expert in? And that's being you. And so
Yeah.
nobody can be Amanda better than Amanda. I'm like, you got that one down. Like you are the world's leading expert at being you. So let's take that genius and package it into a signature process that will help deliver excellent transformative results. I always say excellence is our strategy. And so then it's a win-win. Like your clients win. If your clients don't get excellent results, you're out of business. And so,
Yeah.
and it's interesting that you said about the numbers. And I think it's because I mean, I had to do it the hard way. I didn't come from a business background. My brothers were in business. I was a doctor, and we don't typically, and I was no exception, know about business. But I wanted this so bad, which is always the thing I look for. Who has a burning desire to really do it? If failure's an option, you will. So just do something else. But if you really want it, you're going to win. You will get there.
Yeah.
And so, like, and then it's like, okay, so dog on a bone, how do we do this? And so I know firsthand some of the stuff that people are saying to do aren't right. Like I already tried that.
Yeah.
It sounds good in theory, but here's why it doesn't work. And
You
so
can tell they didn't have a coaching practice on their own.
right. And yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's they're just regurgitating. And some of these
Yeah.
things like, they're trading time for money. That won't get you to your dreams, unless
Yeah.
your dreams are small. Or and or unless you don't want to have freedom or travel. But there is a way. And I had to figure it out, by necessity. And Grace, one of our six-figure health coaches, she had her MBA. And she said actually kind of the same thing that you said, Amanda. She's like, I ran the numbers. I'm like, for me back then, I wouldn't have known what numbers to run. And
Yeah.
but now that I know, and even today, like last night, we're running the numbers for our business, and I find it like it's like magic because you're
Yeah.
like you look at what levers to pull, like you're like
Yeah.
kind of like you getting to the bottom of the soy oil, right? It's like because why just keep trying the same thing over and over and getting the same results? It doesn't work, right? And so I'm like, wow, that's a difference, 80% to 41%. Huh. And then the thing is, the terrain changes. Like, the world changes so that it's like how can we navigate this and then just
Yeah.
keep our eye on the prize and then what works and be good for you. So thank you for sharing that. It's interesting. If anybody is like you're like, okay, what would those numbers be, what would that be? I get it. And we might not have that background, or even if you do, we can talk a little bit about that. This is different. So I'm going to put a link. You can get a free copy of Six Figure Health Coach. I'll put that down here.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of times how people start to learn.
Okay.
They're like, oh, wait a minute, this makes sense. um, when you came to us, what was something that you were looking for help with specifically? What were you kind of struggling with as you're trying to get your practice up and running?
Yeah, I mean, I thought like one, when I was doing these sorts of things mirroring into the corporate level, there was a lot of us doing it together. And I had already tried to help launch a small business. So I knew where my limitations were. I
Yeah,
knew that I didn't know how to scale from corporate down to like individual. And so I was like, okay, I'm not going to allow myself to feel overwhelmed, but that's what I was feeling. I was like, I'm going to do this, but I don't know how to do the micro steps. And
yeah,
so you have a clear program on how to consistently attract the right clients. And so for me, I like to talk. And so that's the same translation happens and I like to write. And the same translation happens in like, I want to help this client and I know I can help them with this breadth of things.
yeah.
But like you were like, no, you have to focus. I need this in a sentence. Like, yeah, you can help all those people. That's great. But like you're gonna help these people and then those people find you also, you know? And I was
And
like,
sometimes I say it with that exact passion.
well, I had to hear it, Dr. Shauna, probably 5 or 6 times before I owned it.
Yeah,
I was like, no, I do
yeah,
it differently. And
yeah,
I'm like, no, Amanda, you want to scale. Like you want to come in, you want to impact more women. You don't want to impact just a
yeah,
few, you want to impact as many as possible. And so I'm like, I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna listen to what she says. And so I did that. And I kept piecing things together, from my corporate background. And then I'm like, nope, it just didn't feel good. I would sit with it, I would meditate with it. I'm like, this doesn't feel right. Follow the rule book. And
yeah,
so
yeah,
you say it, it's a proven framework. You already have a lot of successful coaches doing it this way.
yeah.
And it wasn't like 5% of your coaches, right? It's like
Right.
your coaches get to do it
You're
this
gonna
way
get
if they
results.
follow the
Yeah,
framework.
yeah,
You guys give amazing support,
yeah,
and just the general guidance. And so there's just a lot of ways that you offer folks to tap into the knowledge that they seek.
yeah,
Like if people struggle with the sales call, you know what I mean? There's opportunities to go and like work through those kinks and see that other people are struggling with that.
yeah.
And that wasn't maybe my thing because like I lived in the sales world and that's the thing
Yes.
that I breathe. But like hearing your knowledge, your expertise, you sitting with me and helping me think about the hybrid approach that I wanted to do was like illuminating. And so, it's just all of it.
It's very much so that's kind of then the coaching thing that comes into play because it's very much about customization, right? Like when I say
Yeah.
what do you have to leverage, but also what are some, things that we have to improve upon. So we're going to need some level of sales skills if we're going to invite people in,
Yeah.
somehow, some way, in order to invite them. And so, how can we do that in a way that's not salesy? And sometimes it's client attraction or figuring out what our niche is. So there's deficiencies there. If there weren't deficiencies, you already have a successful practice. So it's if we did it. And the other thing that what is surprising to me is people who did have business backgrounds, how helpful this still was for them. Because
Yeah.
there's an adage, what got you here is not what gets you to there. But also, if you've been functioning in a big company with maybe a big ad budget and a whole team of people that are all
Yeah.
doing different departments, and now you're a solopreneur, different world with like a zero budget. It's a different world. You can do it, but the game's a little bit different. And yeah, so it's awesome. Couple last questions.
Wait. I got to talk about the
Okay.
love funnel, Dr.
Oh,
Shaunna,
okay, okay.
because, I'm all about the foo-foo. So when I saw the love funnel, I was like, in a business context, I hadn't quite thought about it the way
Yeah.
that you articulated it. And the way that I said this in the beginning, it was like the way, like I felt cared for even through the sales process, even like listening to you talk. I was like, this woman actually cares for these humans. And it was you talking about the power of love, the love funnel, the way in which we treat people, and it has to be authentic. You're like, you don't just
Yeah.
do these things and follow these steps. Because
Yeah.
I worked with a lot of people in the business world that were like, I wrote this book, and now the 7 steps to being successful
Yeah.
is like these sorts of things.
Yeah.
No, like you build authenticity into it and teach people how to do that. And it made me realize that I have never been able to impact a woman that didn't feel cared for by me. Like they came from
Hmm.
different programs or and the sheer difference in me caring for them, me putting them through like this experience, authentically caring for them actually makes the impact in their results. Like
Yeah.
that is what does it.
It's the
Because there's a lot
secret
of
sauce.
ways to get healthy, but
Yes.
they're not sustainable unless you feel like you're loved, cared for, and that you belong.
It's
And I
so
love that you
important.
articulate that in this program. And it made me realize you and then this conversation with somebody that's like, no, I mean, it's love and belonging. That's how you're making such an impact on people. And I'm like, oh,
And it really, so it's been a stepwise, learning thing for me as well. And I remember when I was a health coach and when I was sitting with people, and at one point I had all of my clients off all their medication. And it was, I didn't order any lab tests. I didn't, give them that. You know what I did? I just sat and listened.
mm-hmm.
I mean, it was enjoyable. We were in this,
Yeah.
but I gave him a safe space, and I was astounded at what came out. But it got out. It
Yeah.
got out. And
Yeah.
then they lost weight and their blood pressure came down and they changed careers, or
They were
like
seen.
it was. And I went to IIN and Joshua taught that. But to see it firsthand, I'm like, wow. That's why I keep, hang on. That was easy. I mean, really. I mean, that's a lot easier than like having them jump through a bunch of hoops.
Yeah.
Any myths that you've seen in your area, like as you're helping people with this, any myths and sort of things you want to set the record straight when people are struggling with perimenopause and getting their energy and their gut in order?
The thing that probably just like hits me with a dagger is the resignation to it's all about my hormones
Yeah.
and it's just downhill from here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like my mom suffered this is what happened. And like people become complacent
Yeah.
and like, well, my body, it just sucks getting old,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. And, I went hiking in my 30s across the Himalayas and there were two 70-year-old women hiking with us young. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
30, I consider young, right?
Yeah.
Most of the
Yes.
people were in their 20s. And I'm like, I am going to be doing that in my
Yes.
30s. And so
Yeah.
there's no downhill for me. It's not an option.
Yes.
And so, but like people believe that it's my hormones are shifting, but that's not the whole story. It's your gut health needs to be in alignment. You need to have a circadian rhythm that matters and supports your life. You need to have good blood sugar balance. You need to have stress resilience. And you bring that up all the time.
Yeah.
People do not realize that when cortisol is on the rise, estrogen is on the decline.
Yeah.
It makes a direct impact on how
Yeah.
your body is able to manage the hormone fluctuations that are naturally happening.
Yeah.
But like, and we talked about this before, instead of this being like a descent, like the moment in time when, I'm
Yeah.
over the hill, I'm going
Yeah.
down the
Yeah.
other
Over the hill.
side.
Exactly.
Oh, like what if it is this beautiful terrain, it's mountain that you get to hike like for the rest of your life, and it's not an uphill battle. It's like you create the path going forward. And so I want the women I work with to feel this as a powerful transition point and moment in their life
Yeah.
and learn how to work with their bodies to support the new rhythms that are going to happen.
Yeah, I really like that. I really love how you're sharing that and really redefining it. It's not the end, it's really the beginning of the best part of the best chapter.
Yeah.
And like you
Yeah.
get freedom. And, we do care less about what people say too as we get older. So we get that. We have that wisdom because we know when we kind of cater to that, that didn't get us anywhere. And one of the things, yes, you help them lose weight and get their energy, but you also help them find their voice
Yeah.
and really tap into their, as you were saying, their own innate rhythms and like how helpful that is, like really getting back to the roots. And one thing that I noticed is that's where I have my little tagline, be good for you. It's actually very selfish because when people are good for themselves, we're all connected. So that's better for me.
It
So the
is.
better I
Yeah.
am, the
Energy
better you
transfer.
are, the better you are, the better I
Yep.
am. And like, just like your client success is your success and your success is your client's success. And it's like we're all going in the positive direction and the spiral. So, how have you grown? How have you benefited and improved and grown through this sort of health coaching practice?
Yeah. You were talking about this earlier. It's like once you peel back one layer of the onion to discover some new information about your body, you just like keep going. You don't like,
Yeah,
you just naturally don't stay stagnant.
yeah,
And I think that like, when I learned how to biohack my own lifestyle, I realized my passion is helping people build sustainable systems for their life.
yeah,
I don't want to give you a cookie cutter approach to like how I've seen it done and this one person and this is what worked and everybody needs to do this or this is what
yeah,
worked for me, you do this because that's not how it worked. We're all different. We all live different lives.
yeah,
And so knowing that, like biohacking my life, creating my own life rhythms to sustain and support this lifestyle,
yeah,
I did this working in corporate America, raising my three babies, and like doing all the things that we do in life, and really going through a pretty stressful event in my life. I was in the process, like I was just consistently pivoting and biohacking to get this rhythm right. I was like,
yes,
okay, how do I make sure my gut is good? And how do I sustain that while I'm getting up, I'm driving the kids off to school, I'm going to work, and then like right after work, I gotta like quickly make dinner because we got soccer for 2 hours at night.
right, yeah,
How am I going to make a meal that is like healthy for us, but like I can also get done in 20 minutes that I don't have? And so like there's all these excuses. And I was like, no, no excuses. I mean, a little bit more prep.
yeah,
Think about this a little bit more and prep my life. And so I do all the things. I put my babies down, I do my quick cleanup, I go and I light the candle and I or use my amber light and a candlelight and I read and I allow my body to start winding down for the day. And that's just one example of like me creating the rhythms of my day, but I brush my teeth via candlelight at night, wash my face, I go in, I lay down on my cervical pillow. I mean, I usually wake up on my cervical pillow
yeah,
and then my silk pillow over. You know what I mean? My silk covered pillow over.
yes,
My hair's not the same as it used to be. I now have to do more things to make it look nice. But like I move my silk pillow over and I just sleep
yeah,
sound
yeah,
because I wind down. I'm not amping up on social media and getting all stressed out about like all the things going on in the world right now. I'm like, nope,
yes.
I can impact me. I can wake up and be present for my babies the next day, be present for myself, be present for my clients. And so that's what I did. And I just decided, I'm going to make a pivot. This is my life. So let's just keep going with the double masters and the PhD and let's volunteer where I want to
Yeah, yeah, you're
volunteer.
going for your PhD, right?
Yeah, I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to be an old graduate.
Only chronologically, but not like physically, mentally, spiritually. I mean, we just got back from Italy, and my mom at 87 was like keeping up with all on the excursions. So like age is just a number. But it's like how much juice can we get out of this life and like design it so that we're enjoying it to the fullest. And I
Yeah.
really like the health coaching as a career path that allows you some freedom and flexibility. You really get to design it how you want.
Yep.
And that's when it works the best is when it's designed to to align with what you want. And so, yeah, I love it. If you go back and knowing what you know now, talking to
Mhm.
your former self, what do you have to say? Like,
Mm.
because I always like, if I'd have known then what I know now, what kind of piece of advice would you hand down? Because that can help us as we move forward.
I think my Enneagram one, that control piece of me, I had to loosen my grip. I just can't control everything. And for me, I stopped fighting against and like trying to like just cut my own river, and get the water
Yeah,
flowing in this direction. I was like, for me, faith is important. I'm going to trust that God is weaving a bigger story than I can see right now. And just invest in the things that matter.
yeah,
Like invest in my health, invest in my faith, invest in my children, and the rest is all going to fall into place. And it's not like I'm just hanging out doing nothing. I'm like strategically trying to pull levers. I went and found you. I made some
yeah,
decisions.
yeah,
I worked through what it meant to like be in corporate America and do this on the side and then like ultimately make the big pivot this last year to like, nope, this is going to be my full-time, this is going to be my full-time life and I'm going to do this. I can do this.
yeah,
And so, before I was just going to continue doing this on the side for a long time and I'm like, nope, this can be a reality. This can be my life. And
yeah,
so I stopped waiting for everything to perfectly line up.
yeah,
Um, and clarity comes in action, not overthinking. We talked about that, like just like one step at a time. And then there's this beautiful verse that talks about like Jesus be the light of my, the lantern of my feet. And so like just like I'm just gonna allow my pay allow I'm just gonna start walking. I'm just like
yeah.
be in touch, Amanda, be listening to some people to higher power. For me, it's God, it's I allow that process to unfold and it has been beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, trusting the process. And there's a similar kind of an analogy with riding a bike. You find your balance by moving forward. If you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm just going to wait until everything's perfect until I go, and you're sitting on the bike, you're going to fall over. It's by moving forward that you get to tweak and this and that. And then in the big scheme of things, you can't get it wrong because, there is no finish line really. So you can't get it wrong because it's never done. And so you just kind of can keep moving and sculpting it. It's more like a sculpt. It's not like I got the right answer or the wrong answer. It's not really like that. My dad used to
No,
tell
it's
me,
not.
make a decision and then make it the right one. So make
Yeah.
a decision and then
Yeah.
make it the right one. And I really think that message that you said at the beginning about, letting go of control. That sounds so simple, but it really, as a control freak, recovering control
Yeah.
freak, like, and literally the timing is interesting. I just got off a call with a woman who's like, well, there's just so many things and I got to control. And like she actually said it. I'm like, you said that out loud. And I'm like, futile. Like you can't control. We can't control what anything else. We can't control the weather. We can't control other people, but we can control us. We can control how we
Yeah.
respond, and that's all we need to. And everything else, like you can't. And I like Mel Robbins' book, Let Them. Let
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's
She
kind of
said
like
that a lot
that's
too.
that same sentiment. Like
Yeah.
you know just let it be and just focus on yourself. And that is how you can really make the best gift in the world. Okay, I really have been wanting this whole time because I know a couple of the stories. And I know, I always think, I always ask, please place those I meant to serve in front of me and may I see them clearly and may we connect for the most joyful experience before any calls and
Yeah.
connections that I have with someone. And I teach our team to do that so that I know, and then we'd be detached from outcome. If people are wanting in, great. And if they're not, that's not meant to be. But I also know that so many of my clients, if they put down who they're looking for and then they magically show up and kind of like you did by the
Yeah.
lake with your glass of Pinot Noir. And I'm
Yeah.
like, Pinot Noir is my wine. It's that is the one that I go
Good
to.
instincts.
And the thing is, and so I'm like, you called in your coach. Now, I'm not a drunkard. I mean, but I live in wine country and
Yeah.
I live, with these wonderful vineyards. I'm looking at the lake and the mountain and the vineyards right now. I mean, like, that's my favorite thing to do. Well, to look at that. Actually, it is one of my favorite things to do. But, I used to live on the prairies. I didn't drink much wine, maybe 3 times a year at a wedding or whatever. But now I do it more, but also from the blue zones. And we were talking about the blue zones earlier.
Yeah.
That's where I'm like, red wine, resveratrol. But you took it to a whole other level. And I feel like, I am just feeling so good right now because you were
I
saying
validated your choice of
you
Pinot
you
Noir.
validated, so you know how you look for the coach that tells you you can have this or do that, and obviously within moderation and all of that. But I personally, you taught me something today. I did not know there was a difference between different wines and different alcohol and your gut health. I literally have never heard that before, and I'm like, and because you just kind of, and I was drinking Pinot Noir because it's one of that's good for your gut health. And I'm like, wait, what? Wait, what?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, that one's
People's ears
mine.
perk
And
up.
so
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
somehow, and maybe somehow my body intuitively knew that. Maybe that
Yeah.
is why that is my go-to, because I do feel it's light and it's that. And if you don't drink alcohol, don't start now because of it. But if you do, drink responsibly. Anything you want to share about that? Because I was just, I'm like, I think I love you, Amanda.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the one of the things that when you consider the totality of somebody's life, alcohol is often a piece of it, whether or not people consume a lot or little or occasional or whatever, but alcohol is typically a piece of a lot of social settings. And I teach my ladies to drink responsibly.
Yeah,
And what that means is not just like from a like amount of like a total consumption, but what is good for your gut health? What is still going to enable you to go to bed that night and get a good night's rest?
yeah,
And so, like talking about Pinot Noir, I mean, it's
yeah.
rich in the resveratrol and the polyphenols, which actually like increase like the prebiotics in your gut and assist in the product of like building the gut microbiome, but also like they fight off the bad bacteria. And so that's why there's a couple different types, not all wine. There's a couple different wines that have that positive impact on your body. Some wines actually have a negative impact on your body. So like that's why I go through the process of like, what do you like to consume? I'm
Yeah.
going to teach you which liquors are beneficial to you. I'm going to tell you which ones detract from you. And so you are aware of this. This is information that you get. So when you didn't sleep well that night, like you understand
And
why this was the
yeah.
impact.
And I think that whole bio individual thing is also a
Yeah.
thing. Just like I got sick with broccoli.
Yeah.
But like my husband will get like he will get headaches with wine. So not
Yep.
all, it didn't used to, but does now. So like, if let your body will give you that feedback, but a lot of times it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter with this type or that type, uh, from your choice. Either one is fine, and yet some of those choices can they add up and they make a bigger difference, in your health and in your life. So it's really good to know, like, filter it through there. And sometimes my aunt has a sulfite allergy,
Yeah.
so there's so many pieces to it. But I really love that you have that discussion with people, and so that, and I think that's one of the reasons they get such great results. And I know, like many of our coaches, you help people get to the root cause. And when you do, then all sorts of things get better. Just share just
Yeah.
a couple of examples of stories, because man, and I kind of teased it at the beginning about, the husband coming up. Tell that story, because that one was a good one. And I think it might have come from us talking wine, when you shared about
Yeah.
husband coming up to you, of your client. And boy, isn't it's one thing when your clients love you, but when you're getting accolades from their family members and saying, keep doing what you're doing, that's also good. So just share a couple of stories.
I'll go. I'll take it like all the way back to like my formative years in corporate America when I read that book, Servant Leadership, and I was like the orientation of thinking about just how to serve that individual to be their best self, to be their highest self, to be the self they want to be. When you come into this process, and the reason it's really intense for the first 90 days with me is because I just need to strip you down. Like I want you to like I want you to look at your body. I want you to feel your body. I want you to listen to your body. And the best process to go through is the food elimination. And as you know, to be true, when we do that, other things happen. We start understanding that our cortisol levels are maybe out of whack, that we understand, I start discovering all the other layers of the onion of us that are
Yeah.
maybe not quite in alignment because now we're not paying so much attention to this piece because we've got this a little bit more in check.
Yeah.
And then, after we do that elimination, we go through the process of rebuilding their gut microbiome, but we also add in physical movement. So I want you to like really understand how to live and move in your body. And it's often in that process. So it was like clockwork. It was like month 6-ish. It could be a little before, it could be a little after. My women's libidos turned back on. And so, some people are like, this is going to be a decade of my life. You're going to have to get used to it, man. I don't want to have sex with you. And she's like, get away from me, and that's like sometimes what people are like, and
Yeah.
I don't say go, like, I'm not of the mindset that you just go have sex to like
Yeah.
have sex. Like
Yeah.
I want you to want to do that.
Yeah.
And so like when I can get you to the process where you want to do that, one of my ladies was, she said 3 times in 18 months they had sex, and
Mhm.
they started getting into this rhythm where it was happening multiple times a week. And she's like,
Yeah.
I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm like, why is something wrong with you? Like,
Yeah.
why is this like,
Why is
why
this
is
bad?
this a bad thing?
Yeah.
And so I knew that was happening, right? But like she's my client. Like we don't talk about, I'm not like talking about that. But I'm at school pickup because our kids are similar age. And I'm like, my babies are coming up and I'm getting ready to hug them. And this person touches my shoulder, you know? And I turn around and it's her husband. And I'm like, oh, hey, and he's like, thank you. Just like paused and looked into my eyes. Like, I don't want to say it, but you know what I'm saying. And I was like, you're welcome.
Yeah.
I was
Whatever
like,
you're charging, it's worth it.
yeah.
Yeah. Whatever you're charging, it's worth it. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah. And so that was really rewarding.
That's the thing. Like when you get to the root cause, everything gets better. And
Yeah. When you're able to quiet everything because we go through the de-inflammation process, when you're able to
yeah,
start quieting those things, other things present themselves. And some of them are positive, and some of them are like, oh, that is an issue. I probably need to confront it. And like, the reason food works so well is because it's part of all of our lives. And so
yeah,
when my women are with me through Thanksgiving or Christmas, or both going through the 90-day elimination, it is hard to know what you're going to eat in those moments, or even like in general, like sporting events or like pizza at this event or whatever it is. When you're going through that 90 days, we confront all your social anxieties too,
yeah,
because like a lot of people already have them. And then now I'm going to go in and I'm going to have to ask for exceptions for me or
yeah,
exemptions on things, and that really confronts things where like
yeah.
women have learned to not advocate for
Hi.
themselves.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. We've learned to kowtow to everything. We've learned to
yeah,
like, whatever you need, I will give you. And I need that too, whatever. And it's like,
yeah.
no, what do I need? And like, what are my preferences? And
Mhm.
no, it's okay for you to make an exception for me. I don't need to like always be doing all the things that you guys need. Like, it's okay that I stand up and I ask for things that I want. And so when we're going through that process, we're going to the holidays, that's when it really gets intense because that's already an anxiety
Yeah,
inducing setting typically for a
yeah,
lot of people.
yeah,
And it's layered, right?
yeah,
It's like the relationships that I have, and it's like the politics that are gonna get talked about, and it's the fact that I don't know that I ever fit in here, or it's the dynamic of like blended families, or whatever it is. It's so many things.
yes.
But we walk through and I make it about the food and the advocacy of their right to like bring in food or ask for like a variation of something. But it's often about them finding their voice in those settings.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so those are some of the side benefits that happen is like when we start even practicing it in those settings, or practice walking into the pizza event and you can't eat the pizza this time. You will get to eat it later, right? If it doesn't impact you negatively, but you don't get to eat it today. And so you're walking in with your shake and your smoothie or whatever, your protein smoothie or whatever it is that we're replacing this with. And people are going to be like, what are you doing? And sometimes people mock that,
Yeah,
mock you being healthy and making alternate choices.
yeah,
And I'm like, that's not about you, girl. That's about
yeah,
them.
yeah,
That's about them feeling I should do that. You know what I mean?
yes,
And so
yeah,
so instead of you like taking that as a moment of shame, you're like, yes, I am trying to make myself the healthiest version of myself. I'm like,
yeah,
why don't you say that instead?
yeah,
Or
yeah,
like, sorry, do you want me to share this with you? Or like
yeah,
next time I'll bring two or whatever. Like there's so
yeah,
many different ways to respond. And so I love it when they get their voice back, or
yeah,
maybe they even discover that they have these preferences for the first
yeah,
time. because they've
Yeah.
just like lived this existence this whole time.
Yeah, just kind of walking on eggshells and doing whatever. And I'm just going to go along with everything and then wondering why they don't have a life they want because they
Yeah.
never made a choice or a preference or felt allowed to. But that comes with support. Like it really helps to be if we're going to change that, like that's where it's really helps to have support and sort of the talk tracks, if you will, like that. How do we say that? How do we approach that? And why does it matter? And what's a good thing to advocate for, and when, and in what way, so that we're not disrespecting someone else, we're not throwing hate on someone else, or anything like that, but just like owning your own preference. Like you get to do
Yeah.
that. You get to do that. And yeah,
Because
I
in
think
health
that's
coaching, we're all about them.
yes,
Like, like you get to come in and I'm like, because people will come in and they'll tell me all the things that their husband prefers. And I'm
yeah,
like, wonderful that he has preferences too.
yes, yeah,
I care about your preferences.
yes.
And I'm
What do
not
you
trying
like?
to create separation here. I want them to be synergized.
Yes.
But in order to do that, you can't do that with a constant imbalance.
Yes, it does. Yeah, sooner or later it's going to crack. Like
Yeah, it's going to crack. And so
there's a
like
crack in
there's
the
a reason
foundation.
divorces end in 49% of the time, first
Yeah,
time around. Like there's a
yeah,
reason. And so
yeah,
like if I can raise you up to have the same value that you give everybody else,
yeah,
like that's beautiful.
yeah. And if you can enjoy the life that you have, if you're feeling
Yeah.
good and you're enjoying your life, everything looks better through that lens. The whole world looks better
Yeah, and
through
you
that
elevate that whole
lens.
family. Like
Yeah.
women elevate the whole family unit.
Yes. Yeah. And it's a
Like their
ripple
kids
effect.
start eating healthier, their partners eat healthier, everybody changes.
Okay, one last quick one because it's one that I don't hear. Speaking of elevate. So lots of our clients help people lose weight. Okay.
Mhm.
Tell them about the woman who got, I think it was a woman who got taller. Like nobody helps people get taller, right? We
I
help them lose
know.
weight, but we don't, I mean, your height's your height, right? Tell that story just briefly. So,
Yeah.
because she didn't come in, hey, can you help me be taller? That was just like
No,
a
she was already
bonus
getting help with that
benefit.
actually
Yeah,
from her chiropractor and her physical therapist. And so, because one of the beautiful opportunities we have is to work alongside the other people that they have as part of their community, their medical community.
yeah,
And so, because we get to interconnect, we get to weave all that together for them. And for her, like, she had like the hump on the back that had developed over time, posturally, and we kind of like sometimes are born with things. And anyway, so she had taken x-rays right before we started working together. And throughout the process, she didn't tell me right away, but when we got to the physical work, that's when she brought it up. Like I would like to impact my posture.
yeah,
And so then we started doing and this one was committed. And so we started doing exercises differently and she did them with higher frequency. And then I was even able to like show her different things, that she could do to assist with the process and loosen up the muscles and talk to her about the science behind why that matters and how that impacts overall body and how posture impacts all
yes,
of it, stress,
yes.
everything, right? And yeah, she went got her x-rays at a year later and she was an inch taller.
And even just getting rid of the stress. I mean, the mobility and the exercise is
It
also
stresses your
important, right?
body.
But
Yeah,
when you're stressed, you kind of like, or if you don't have your voice and you don't have your confidence, you kind of like shrink.
you shrink
And
in.
as
Yeah.
opposed to when we stand up for ourselves and we shine brighter, we are taller. And but like literally, like I love that they measured it, and I mean, that's so fun. I literally could talk to you forever. Amanda, you have so many great stories with so many amazing clients. I love your practice. I love that you love your practice. More importantly, I love that you love it, that you've been able to create a practice and a life that you love. And it's work. It's work. It doesn't happen by default. Like it's intentional and we
Yeah.
steer it. You have, this is what I prefer. This is what I want. How can people are probably like entertained by you, amazed by you. You've got this, it's a different, they love some will love your personality. I'm not going to say everybody does. I do. I think everybody would.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know I'm not everybody's not my fan. But I mean, some people here are like, she's my coach. Like, how do I get in touch with Amanda? So how do they get in touch with you, Amanda?
Yeah. So my website, functionalhealing.org. And so that's an easy place. And you actually like can sign up to get on a call with me on my website. But even though I slightly loathe social media because it gets us into bad habits, right? But like I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook. So functional healing underscore Amanda Joe on Instagram, and then Facebook, I'm Amanda Joe Functional Healing. And so you can find me, and then I also have on there the ways that you can get a hold of me, like my website link and stuff like that. But functionalhealing.org is the quickest way to get in touch with me because there's a button on that website. You sign up and you're on my calendar instantly.
Yeah, and you do initial free consultations with people too,
Oh
right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, just
yeah.
to see like what's going on, is this in your scope of practice and all of that. So, definitely take Amanda up on that. And in your Instagram, functional healing underscore Amanda Joe, and Joe is J-O. And,
Jo, girl Joe.
yeah, girl Joe and
Yeah,
Amanda Joe, no hyphen or anything, just Amanda Joe Functional
Joe
Healing
Functional
on
Healing.
Facebook. I've absolutely loved that. If you are a health coach and you're like, I would like to have this kind of results with my clients. How do I set them up for success? I have a video here on how to onboard like a pro. So, how do you set your clients up for success? How do you walk them through your process? I think you're going to love it. And with that, thank you so much, Amanda. It was been an absolute pleasure. Again, we'll have to do this again.
I know. I adore you. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
All right, be good for you.